Well, joining us now, Newt Gingrich. He's the former House Speaker, of course, and author of the new book, Trump's America, The Truth About Our Nation's Great Comeback. Newt, great to see you. And with that comeback in mind, you know, as Larry Kudlow just pointed out, the economy is doing nicely. While economies around the world are pretty much flattened out, the U.S. economy continues to kind of rev up. Something I would imagine that those facing midterm elections can point to on the Republican side.
Well, I think the Trump effect has been remarkable. The combination of conservative judges, deregulation, tax cuts, innovation, the right policies favoring work over welfare, all of that's come together. Plus, having an entrepreneur in the White House, I think, has sent a sort of an emotional signal to small business leaders, entrepreneurs, creative people in the economy, where you have the highest positives we've had in many, many years. There's one report that the second quarter may actually be 4.1% growth. Oof. If that happens, I think you're going to see the country look up. Lowest black unemployment in history. 5 of the 6 lowest Latino months of unemployment have been under Trump. You see a continual creation. I was just out in Wisconsin visiting my mother-in-law, and everywhere we went in small-town Wisconsin, there were signs up that said "Help Wanted." Where people are trying to hire people and they're not available. So, which, by the way, is going to lead the Trump administration to a big emphasis on vocational education to make sure that people get the skills they need to do the jobs that are becoming available.
Exactly right, and that's a great idea. Newt, you have a few headlines. Here's the first one. The experts, in quotes, were wrong in 2016. They could be wrong in 2018, too. Now, of course, we've been hearing about this blue wave in the midterms, but you think, what, a blue ripple at the most?
Well, you know, I do 2 free newsletters a week at Gingrich Productions, and I just did one that said, you know, the blue wave may turn out to get down to a blue trickle by the time we're done. And frankly, you look at the left-wing nutcakes that they are nominating. They just nominated an openly anti-Semitic candidate in Houston. They've been nominating very far-left people. Despite what's happening in Venezuela, they are nominating people who are overtly socialist. I mean, I think that's a pretty heavy lift in the general election. So I think the Democrats are digging a deeper hole. And frankly, as the economy gets better, as Trump looks better and better in foreign policy, I think the Republicans are making a comeback.
I also wanted to ask you, Newt, about President Trump's push for lower drug prices. You say he's already made progress, right?
He's made tremendous progress. Years ago, back in 2003, I wrote a book called Saving Lives and Saving Money and outlined the kind of strategy they're now implementing. This is practical, common sense. It is going to save billions of dollars. And for the first time, it puts the focus on the foreign governments who've been ripping off American companies, and I see that as part of Trump's overall trade strategy. Why should we allow the French or the British or the Germans to literally force us to sell them drugs below the cost that they're being sold for in the U.S.? And that's what they do. They say, if you don't sell us the drug, we're going to steal your intellectual property. And I think it's terrific that the Trump administration is now taking that head on.
I used to be the benefit of those low drug prices when I lived in the UK, Newt, so I can tell you firsthand they were very cheap, and you're absolutely right. It's not fair, is it? I just wanted to ask you one quick question about the book, your new book, Trump's America, comes out June 5th. What's the main premise of the book?
Well, the main premise is that the elite media is not telling you what's really going on, that their coverage actually distorts what's happening, and that it's not just about President Trump as a person, but it's about a huge number of Americans who really want to see us be a productive, dynamic, prosperous, and safe country, and who are prepared to take the left head on. And I think Trump's America, in that sense, really is a book about what we are living through and the opportunity we have to give our children and grandchildren a better future.
I just wanted quickly to touch on, if I could, with you, the foreign policy of Mr. Trump. As you mentioned, you know, for all the hand-wringing and the forecasts of doom about we're all going to be at war with everyone, it's been quite remarkable, hasn't it? I know the North Koreans are saying, maybe we'll push back this summit, but the fact that they're even contemplating coming to the table in the first place is very encouraging. We have a Chinese trade delegation right now talking with U.S. officials about how to, do some rearranging, if you like, of our trade partnership with China to make it a more level playing field. We've moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. It's been so many things coming thick and fast, but at the bottom, the bottom line of all of this is that America is once again taking the lead. Strength, peace through strength. Going back to Ronald Reagan, I feel like it's really paying dividends.
Well, I think peace through strength does matter. I think Secretary Mattis is doing a great job rebuilding the Pentagon. I think the president has really pushed hard to get them the resources they need. At the same time, the thing that's amazing about Trump is he may zigzag a lot on small things, but on the big things, he is remarkably stable. He said all along the Iran deal was a terrible deal. He was not going to keep it. He kept his word. He said he'd move the embassy to Jerusalem, a bill which I actually offered when I was Speaker, and I'm very proud of the fact that we're finally doing it. He kept his word. He has been very tough with the North Koreans, and I think the Chinese have been telling the North Koreans, don't underestimate this guy. So I think that we are seeing a remarkable moment in history with a president who combines Reagan's toughness and, as a good negotiator, also understands Reagan's principle of trust but verify.
Yeah.
And I think whether it's with Iran or North Korea or any place else, you're going to see a very different, more realistic American policy. And frankly, Secretary of State Pompeo and the National Security Advisor John Bolton working with Secretary Mattis, that's a great team for American national security.
And it's been remarkable to follow. Newt Gingrich, good luck with the book, and thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.